The theme of silent sacrifices and unexpected gratitude. Written by Ebere Chukwu, Folktale Therapy. The Unseen Hand. I still remember the day I started working as a live-in housekeeper for the wealthy Nwankwo family in Lagos. I was 22 years old, and my family needed financial support. Mrs. Nwankwo was a successful businesswoman, and her husband was a renowned doctor. They had 3 children, and their eldest son, Nnamdi, was in his final year of secondary school. As a housekeeper, my duties included cleaning the house, cooking meals, and taking care of the children. The Nwankwo family treated me well, but I was always aware of the invisible line between us. I was just the help, after all. They would often introduce me as our house girl to the guests, and I would smile and curtsy, trying to hide my feelings. But there was one person in the family who treated me differently. Nnamdi, the eldest son, would often talk to me like a friend. He would ask me about my day, my interests, and my dreams. I found myself looking forward to our conversations, and I began to see him as more than just a member of the family I worked for. As time passed, I noticed that Nnamdi's friend, Obinna, would often visit the house. He was a bright and ambitious young man, but I could sense that he was struggling financially. One day, Nnamdi mentioned that Obinna's family couldn't afford his school fees. And I knew I had to do something. I started secretly paying Obinna's school fees. I would send the money through Nnamdi, and he would pass it on to his friend. I didn't want anyone to know about my involvement. Not even Obinna. I just wanted to help him succeed. Years went by, and Obinna excelled in school. He got admitted into a prestigious university, and I was overjoyed. I continued to support him financially, always making sure that my contributions remained anonymous. But the Nwankwo family began to notice changes in their son's friend. Nnamdi would often talk about Obinna's achievements, and how he was destined for greatness. Mrs. Nwankwo would smile and nod, proud of her son's friend, but unaware of the role I played in his success. As Obinna's graduation day approached, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. I had helped him achieve his dreams, and he would soon be entering the workforce. I imagined the kind of impact he would make, and I felt grateful to have played a part in his journey. The day of the graduation ceremony arrived, and I watched from afar as Obinna walked across the stage, diploma in hand. I couldn't attend the ceremony, of course, but Nnamdi kept me updated on the proceedings. It was during the reception that Obinna stood up to give a speech. He thanked his family, his friends, and his mentors, but then he paused, looking out into the crowd. I would like to specially thank the person who made it all possible for me, he said, his voice filled with emotion. The person who believed in me when no one else would. The person who supported me financially and emotionally, without expecting anything in return. The room fell silent as Obinna's eyes locked onto mine. even though I wasn't there. Her name is Neoma, he continued. She is a housekeeper, but she is so much more than that. She is a guardian angel, and I will be forever grateful to her. The Nwankwo family was stunned. They had no idea about my involvement in Abina's life. And they certainly didn't know about the sacrifices I had made for him. Mrs. Nwankwo looked at me with newfound respect. And Nnamdi smiled, knowing that I had been behind Abina's success all along. After the graduation ceremony, Abina came to visit me at the Nwankwo's house. He thanked me profusely, tears in his eyes, and promised to repay me for all that I had done for him. I smiled, feeling seen and appreciated for the first time in years. The Nwankwo family apologized for their treatment of me over the years. They realized that I was more than just a housekeeper. I was a kind and generous soul who had made a difference in their son's friend's life. Abina continued to show his gratitude. And I finally felt like I belonged. As I look back on those years, I realize that my silent sacrifices had not gone unnoticed. Abina's words had brought tears to my eyes, but they had also brought me a sense of pride and fulfillment. I had made a difference in someone's life, and that was all that mattered. In the end, it wasn't about the money or the recognition. It was about accomplishments and achievements. They said I was just a maid, but 20 years later, I was the only one he called Mama. Written by Eberichukwu. 1. I was just a teenager from a small town. My name is Ugoma. I was 17 when I came to the city with one suitcase and a heart full of hope. The job agency said, "A wealthy family in Abuja needs a maid. They have one child." I agreed. That's how I met baby Julian. He was just 6 months old. Tiny, with big eyes and a gentle smile. His mother, Mrs. Nwosu, was kind but distant. His father, Dr. Nwosu, barely noticed me. But that baby. He held my finger like he was holding onto life itself. 2. I gave him more than they paid me for. I woke before dawn. Prepared breakfast. Sang lullabies from my childhood. Julian grew fast. By age 3, he could already say, "Mama Ada, I love you." That melted me. I wasn't just a maid. I was the one who rocked him through teething fever. Who sat beside him during nightmares. Who stood up to Mrs. Nwosu when she scolded him for being too loud. But still, I was told, greater than, don't overstep your role. You're just staff. So I stayed quiet. And loved him in silence. 3. I became invisible as he grew. As Julian grew older, Mrs. Nwosu brought in tutors, sports coaches, and music instructors. They wanted him refined, elite. I became the background. He was told to call me Ugoma, but when no one was looking, he'd whisper, greater than, you're still my mama, right? And I'd smile. Yes. My love. In every way that counts. 4. When they sent me away, at age 15, Julian was sent to boarding school in the US. The house suddenly felt like a tomb. A week after he left, Mrs. Nwosu called me into the sitting room. She didn't look up from her book when she said, "Greater than, you've done well. But we don't need you anymore." They gave me an envelope. No hug. No farewell. Just silence. 5 years passed. I never heard from him again. I moved back to my hometown. Opened a small bakery. Sometimes I'd pass young boys on the street and imagine what Julian looked like now. Was he tall? Did he still love soccer? Did he still remember me? I prayed for him. Every night. 6. The day I saw his face again, on TV. One morning, my neighbor ran into my bakery screaming, "Ugoma! That boy you raised. He's on TV." I rushed outside. There he was. Julian Nwosu, founder of a global renewable energy company. 25 years old. A visionary. Standing on a CNN stage saying, "Greater than, the woman who shaped me wasn't my mother. She was a maid who taught me everything." I fell to my knees. He remembered. 7. The invitation letter. A month later, I got a letter. Gold seal. Foreign stamp. "You are cordially invited to the charity gala of Mr. Julian Nwosu, to be held at the Echo Hotel." I wept. I bought the best Ankara fabric I could afford. Sewed it myself. At the event, I stood at the back. Then I heard his voice, "Greater than. Today, I want to thank someone who made me who I am. She changed my diapers. Taught me compassion. Loved me even when I had nothing to offer. People called her the maid. But to me, she's the only mother I've ever had." He pointed at me. The spotlight followed. And for the first time in my life, I felt seen. 8. The battle over his wealth. When Julian's father passed away, the family's wealth was disputed. Uncles, aunties, and long-lost cousins appeared from nowhere. But Julian's will made it clear, "Greater than. To my biological family, I leave some assets. But to the woman who gave me life without birthing me, I leave the majority of my estate. She is my mother in all the ways that matter." Silence. Someone shouted, "She's just a servant." Julian's lawyer replied, "Greater than, she's the only one he ever called Mama." Today, I sit in the same house where I once served tea on my knees. But now, I walk the halls with dignity. Julian is still making a difference in the world. And every time I see his smile in the papers, memo I whisper, Shattered Dream. Written by Eberichukwu, Folktale Therapy. My name is Ugochi, and I grew up with a dream of having a big family. I envisioned a home filled with laughter, love, and the pitter-patter of little feet. I longed to be a mother, to nurture and care for my children, and to watch them grow into compassionate and successful individuals. But life, it seemed, had other plans. As I navigated my marriage, I couldn't help but feel a sense of disappointment and pain as year after year passed without a pregnancy. The longing to conceive grew stronger with each passing day, and the silence that surrounded our struggles only added to the weight of our sorrow. The visits to the doctor, the endless tests, and the diagnoses all seemed to blur together in a haze of uncertainty. And then, the words that would change everything echoed through the doctor's office: infertility. The diagnosis hung in the air like a challenge, a constant reminder of the dreams that seemed to be slipping further and further away. My marriage crumbled under the weight of disappointment and pain, and I was left alone, wondering if I would ever experience the joy of motherhood. The days that followed were dark and trying. I questioned my purpose, my worth, and my ability to love and be loved in return. The pain of infertility seemed to seep into every aspect of my life, leaving me feeling empty and unfulfilled. But as I navigated the depths of my sorrow, something within me refused to give up. I knew that love knows no bounds, and I was determined to find a way to share my love with children who needed it. It was during this time of searching and questioning that I stumbled upon a local orphanage. The idea of volunteering there sparked something within me, and I knew I had to take the leap. As I walked through the doors of the orphanage, I was met with the faces of children who had known hardship and loss, but still radiated hope and resilience. Among the many faces, 5 siblings stood out. They had been abandoned by their relatives after their parents' death and were struggling to survive. Their eyes told a story of loss and longing, but also of hope and determination. I knew in that moment that I had to help them, to be the safe haven they so desperately needed. The decision to adopt them wasn't easy. There were challenges and doubts that crept in, whispers of uncertainty that threatened to derail my resolve. But I knew that love could conquer all, that it could bridge the gaps between us and create a bond stronger than blood. I poured my heart and soul into raising them, and they quickly became my everything. Raising 5 children was chaotic, to say the least. There were times when we struggled to make ends meet, when the bills piled up and the fridge was almost empty. But we always found a way to make it work, to stretch what little we had and make do. And as they grew older, they began to excel in their respective fields. One became a renowned scientist, another a successful entrepreneur, and the others pursued careers in law, medicine, and technology. Their successes were a testament to their hard work and determination, but also to the love and support that had nurtured them along the way. Years passed, and I watched with pride as my children grew into compassionate and successful individuals. They never forgot where they came from, and they always made sure to lend a helping hand to those in need. And when I turned 60, They surprised me with a gift that changed my life forever. They had pooled their resources together and built a community center in our neighborhood, where children and families could come together and support one another. I was overwhelmed with emotion as they handed me the keys, my heart swelling with pride and gratitude. It was a moment I would never forget, and I knew that all the struggles and hardships had been worth it. The community center has become a hub for social change, providing support and resources to families in need. I've seen firsthand the impact it's had on our community, the lives it's touched, and the hope it's inspired. And I'm grateful to see my children continuing to make a difference in the world. As I look to the future, I know that my children will continue to excel, to innovate, and to inspire. And I'm proud to be their mother, to have played a part in shaping them into the people they've become. I've learned that family is not just about blood ties, but about the love and support we show one another. And I'm grateful for the family we've built together. My story is a testament to the power of love and the impact one person can have on the lives of others. I hope that it will inspire others to open their hearts and homes to children in need, to spread love and kindness wherever they go. You never know the impact it can have on someone's life. Trusting Beyond Doubt. Written by Eberi Chukwu, Folktale Therapy. I once had a young man, Namdi, who worked as a bus driver for me. He was referred by one of my trusted drivers, and I had seen him grow and work diligently over time. When he came to me and asked if he could take ownership of one of the buses, I was hesitant at first, but I also saw potential in him. As part of our process, we require 2 guarantors for anyone looking to take ownership of a bus. Namdi's referrer already counted as one, so he needed to find another guarantor. He came back to me a few days later and told me that his cousin, who lived on the same street, would stand for him. I told him to bring the guy over, and we'd finalize the paperwork. The guarantor, who claimed to be Namdi's cousin, came to my office, and we vetted him. He seemed like a responsible individual, so we had him sign the guarantor form, and he left. However, that same night, I received a call from the same man who claimed to be Namdi's cousin. "Hello, sir," he said. "I'm calling to withdraw my guarantee for Namdi. To be honest, he's not my cousin, he's just my neighbor. And I don't want to stand for him anymore." I was taken aback, but what shocked me more was what he said next: "Give him that bus at your own risk. That guy is dubious. He's a thief. He said horrible things about you." I won't lie, I didn't sleep well that night. The warning from Namdi's neighbor had planted seeds of doubt in my mind. The next morning, I called Namdi to my office, but I didn't mention what his neighbor had said. Instead, I told him, "Your cousin doesn't want to stand for you again." I expected him to be understanding, but his reaction was unexpected. He fell to the ground, crying uncontrollably. His emotional response touched me, and in that moment, I made a decision. "I'll still give you this bus," I told him. "But if you mess up, I'll get you arrested, and you'll rot in jail. And I will use every means to get you. Something in my spirit just said, help him. Maybe it was because the person who referred him was one of my trusted drivers, or maybe it was because I saw something in Nnamdi that I couldn't quite put my finger on. Whatever it was, I took the risk. Fast forward to today, Nnamdi is one of my best drivers. Not once has he owed me money. Not even a day. While checking his file recently, I asked myself, what if I had listened to his neighbor? That same neighbor who called him a thief and a dubious person. Imagine if I had let that comment shape my decision. This experience taught me two valuable lessons. Firstly, the person who will try to block your breakthrough isn't always a stranger. Sometimes, it's the person living right next door. Secondly, when you want to help someone, listen to your spirit, not what people say. I'm glad I followed my instincts and gave Nnamdi a chance. When I hand him the bus's ownership documents this month, I'll tell him everything. I've kept this story for over 2 years now, and I'm just happy I didn't listen to the negative voices. I'm happy that I'm part of his journey, and I'm happy that I followed my own mind. This story has made me realize that we should be careful who we listen to when it comes to other people. Not everyone who smiles at you wants you to rise. Some people might be pretending to be your friend while secretly working against you. It's essential to trust your instincts and not let the opinions of others dictate your decisions. As I reflect on this experience, I'm reminded of the importance of giving people a chance. Nnamdi could have easily been written off as a problematic individual based on his neighbor's words. But instead, he proved himself to be a responsible and hardworking young man. It's a reminder that we shouldn't judge people based on what others say, but rather on their actions and character. When Nnamdi comes to collect the bus's ownership documents, I'll share this story with him, and I hope it will serve as a reminder to him of the importance of perseverance and hard work. I'm proud to have been part of his journey, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for him. In the end, I'm grateful for the lesson I've learned. It's a reminder that we should always trust our instincts and not let the opinions of others hold us back from helping others. By giving Nnamdi a chance, I've not only helped him but also gained a valuable lesson that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life.